This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, hello. Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible to you and the, the screen is shareable to you.
Hi Shankar, yeah, you're audible in screen share. We
Yeah, we
see
can
that.
see that.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, thank you. Right. So let me quickly introduce myself. So we will not take much time on this. So myself, Shankar, and I'm having more than 12 years of experience in IT. And right now, right, so I'm leading as a DevOps engineer in a corporate company, like one of the cloud-based company. And I used to give the trainings, corporate trainer as well as internal training also I used to give. And right, I work with a number of projects to set up right. So our DevOps culture, right, the DevOps automation, whatever the term right now nowadays we are using, right, automation, culture, process, whatever it is, right, by using different tool stacks. We are going to discuss about what exactly the automations and everything. Right, this is about me. So let's quickly jump into our DevOps area. Maybe you guys are aware of right, like what is a DevOps and what the tools or something like that. Right? Maybe you are not aware of what the DevOps and what the tool stack and all the stuff. We will discuss all the things of the DevOps side, right? So then we'll go for questionnaires. Then we'll go for right our actual classes. Maybe right it will take 2 days of time for us to understand what exactly the DevOps and what we are going to do in the DevOps and what is the tool stack we are going to use in the DevOps and what is the each tool purpose, right? So we'll see the entire tool stack and the flow of the DevOps, right? So that is what our plan is. Right? The first 2 days will focus on understanding and your queries, right? So right, so the applications, right? Basically, the DevOps is nothing but right to manage the applications. So suppose right, so I'm going to use paytm.com. It's an application, right? So there are different services are available in our paytm.com application. Like you can observe, right? Recharge, prepaid mobile, pay electricity mobile, right? Recharge DH like that. These are all the services of the Paytm application. We all know, right? So the developers are going to develop this application, right? This is a common thing whenever you want to develop an application. In the back end, developers will be there. They used to develop the code by using various languages, correct? It can be a .NET, it can be a Python, it can be a Java or some XYZ language. That is fine. After the application code is ready, so people can use the application like you or me, straightforward can you use that application? No, right? You cannot, because there is a process involved in the back end. So once the code is ready, we cannot straightforward go and use it, right? A process we are going to follow. That process talks about your automations are nothing but your DevOps area, right? So after the application means after the code is ready, whatever the area, right, we are going to focus, that is what our DevOps is, right? In the past, we we don't have any kind of DevOps thing, right? Then how the teams are going to manage? There are, right, different teams are involved in the past, right? Like after the development, right, we'll be having a testing team, we are going to have the right build and release team, we are going to have the ops team, we are going to have the networking team, we are going to have the admins, like that, right? Different teams are involved in the past. So they all collaboratively works together, and finally the product is going to launch into the live, right? So then what is the issue, right? So when we have the different teams, then what is the issue, right? There is no issue, but the thing is, right, the time plays the role here. In the past, technology is less used, so there is no much competition, right? So who are going to provide the business to us, they are going to give the sufficient time to us, like take this time and develop the product to me and give it to me, right? Even though it is dragged out of 1 month or so, that is fine, but nowadays not like that, right? Technology is rapidly grown up, everyone using, right? Everyone depends on the applications. Right now, we are not going to get that much of sufficient time to go to the product into the live, right? So now the thing should be make it faster, like your development of code and managing of your code in the sense the application. So that is what right now the thing is. So right, so now when working multiple teams together, obviously time is going to be delayed because miscommunication, right? So like I given to some, I have given my code to for testing, but I'm not informed a proper details to the testers, like these are the things you need to take care. So obviously, like, what the testers will do, they will do their actual process to test the code. So obviously issues will arise, they will raise the bugs, then developers, right, says that no, it's not bug, it's a thing, you have to take care of this dependency or so and so thing. Like I want to deploy into some environments, into some servers, on the servers, right? Again, so versions incompatibility, OS incompatibility, right? Or packages incompatibility, mismatch of versions, right? Because the proper communication, the lack of the proper communication. So these are the things dragging the time of product delivery, right? So now what the the thought of is, right? Let's have a one team, like a kind of team who is going to manage all the areas. After the code is ready, the team is going to manage all the areas by taking the help of, right, the other teams, by collaborating with the other teams, right, by leveraging or by using the various tools available in the market, so that my process, right, go as fast as, like, so I'm planning for next 10 days, but I want to deliver it in 8 days, right? So that's what my goal is actually. So right, so there, what is required for us, right? The automations are required for us. If you go with a manual, you cannot reach your goal, right? If you go with your, right, different teams collaboration, then working with the teams, then again the challenges. So right, so introduce the tools and make the things faster, right? So now here, if you guys observe here, so this is a typical application layer. So where you can see, you will be having the applications, the code, right? The tool stack of application development, and there is infrastructure there to manage the applications. And in between, we are going to have the platform, so that, right, to run your code, all right, to use to manage your, right, databases, like the layers we can observe here. So typically, right, development will take care by development team. Then the other areas, right, whatever the other areas are there, like your platform or infrastructure or security or testing, right? So all the things to be managed by one team. So that is what our DevOps team, right? So people will call like Dev plus Ops, development plus operations. Here the development is not your application development, right? So this is development of your infrastructure. This is development of your automations. This is development of your continuous integration, continuous deployment, or continuous delivery. Like that is what our development here, not our application development, right? So the operations, right, nothing but, right, whatever you want to manage. Like here, I want to deploy my code into 100 servers, right? How we are going to deploy? What the stack is required means what the packages, what the softwares, what the tools are required, right? So all the operations the DevOps team is going to manage. So nowadays, right, it is not only restricted to 1 year. DevOps is not restricted to 1 year, like you are going to touch this area, you are going to work with this area. It's not like that. Today you are going to touch this area, tomorrow you are going to touch networking, right? After that you are going to touch the security part, like that, right? We are expanding our skills. So then, right, so that, right, things become faster, right? So based on that, right, we are going to get new tools in the market. So that, right, again, so with the help of the tools, you are going to develop the automations, so that, right, the automations are helping your software delivery into market as faster, right? So right, so now here, what is required for a DevOps engineer? DevOps engineer requires, right, so multiple areas of knowledge. It's not like you are restricted to one area. Anyway, so once we jump into our classes, right, we'll learn everything, what the areas, what we are going to touch, everything, right? Just try to understand, right? So what we are going to do and what are the tools we are going to use, right, and how we are going to leverage the tools in our automations, right? So I hope you guys are aware of that, right? The process called software development life cycle. In that, right, you are going to plan for the software, you are going to develop the software, right, and we are going to test the software, we are going to deploy the software, right? So this is all our life cycle. Again, this is old process, right? So anyway, this is SDLC process, we'll discuss later. So right, so we'll try to focus on our DevOps area and what we are going to do in the DevOps with the help of the tool stacks, right? So now here, so let me uh, go for some understanding of our area, like the tool side. Right, so this is the application. So let me take some banking application or something, right? So then, right, so here we are going to have the pieces like development of code, then, right, testing of code, then infrastructure, right? So then security, then, right, networking, like that, right? We are going to have different services to make sure, right, your application is always up and running, nothing, right, high available and scalable, right? So now usually this development will take care by developers and the testing rate will take care by testers, right? So now here in this area we can see like admins. If it is a big organization, right, there you will see networking admins, right? Here, right, you will see the ops team. So right, so now the DevOps, right, so taken this entire area and write one team called DevOps now, right? So this testing area also, right, we are going to work on, but we require to write the test cases whenever application code is ready, right? We require to write the test cases. So that area is not focusing right now, right? But yes, that is also maybe right in future. That is also become part of when we are, right. So here we are not going to write the test cases, but the tools will come something like that. You are going to provide the inputs, and the tools will generate the test case for you. Then we are going to leverage them, like, right? Maybe in future we'll see that. But that whatever the setup is required, right? Suppose I want to do my integration testing using the Selenium, right? So then the DevOps, what it will do here, they are going to set up the Selenium, like by like the Chrome drivers, the right, whatever is required to test the code. We are going to set up everything and we are going to hand over the environment to the testers. Now the testers, right, they are going to write the code, the test shoots, and they are going to validate it. So right, so infrastructure will take care. Now the testing, right, is going to take care by the team, right? Again, it is not like the one point is here, right? This DevOps is not something like once you did something, the same thing you are going to follow always. Not like that. As an example, right? So there are the projects are there where we are going to deploy the code into the test environment, and we are going to inform the testing team, the QA team, like the code is ready, you can go and test it. Then the QA team, right, will go to the servers, like will take the servers, and they will run the test cases. That is one approach. In the other approach, right, we want to do complete automation. Means we are not going to inform any QA team. We are going to prepare or create the process so that once the code is ready, you will deploy the code into the QA environment, and the QA environment, right, there the test cases are going to validate it automatically. Then it is going to provide the test report to everyone. So like that, it's a approach, right? What the project, based on the project, how they want to proceed the automations or their build and deployment lifecycle. It depends on the management or the owner, right? The after the discussions, how you want to approach. So right, so maybe right after years, right? It's like a one piece, the testing, right? So that you are going to involve it. Means it's like a framework. You will get a framework, a DevOps framework. So testing also a part of your framework. That's always right. So our DevOps is always thinks about the new ways to handle the requirements. So it's not like this time I use always right. Throughout my career, I'm going to use the same tool stack. No, it will not work for us. Right. So likewise, right, it is a continuously learning thing for us and evolving the new things and applying the things onto our projects or onto our right whatever the area you are working on. Right. So now the major focus in our DevOps, right? If you joined into any organization, right, or you are taking any project, the major focus is right. We are going to call it as a CACD process, continuous integration and continuous deployment process, and also we are going to call it as CACDCM, continuous monitoring. So any DevOps engineer who is going to work on the project, the main responsibility is CACDCM, continuous integration, continuous deployment, and continuous monitoring. Right. What exactly this continuous integration, continuous deployment, and the monitoring? Right. So suppose we have an application called banking. So in the banking, right, we have credit card, like modules, debit card, online banking, mutual funds, like that. Right. So now the teams, right? So we are going to have the development teams. So like 3 people are working on the debit card team, 5 people are working on the credit card team, like that, right? We are going to have the different teams. So the teams are going to work on the particular services, right? So now here, so the developers will work on the code. So once the code is ready, right? Once the code is ready, what next? So they have to make sure whatever the code is developed, that is working fine. Right? The team has to make sure. So how they are going to make sure, right? So they need a mission. On the mission, they are going to validate the code. So why they need a separate mission? Because already I'm using my laptop, I can test the code on my laptop or the desktop. Why I require a separate mission, right? So I am part of the team, I am working on online banking, right? So now I can test the online banking on my laptop, but here I need to make sure my online banking module is not impacting the other modules. My code is not impacting the application performance. They're all the key areas. It's not like you work on your code, that's it, right? It's not like that. Your code should not impact the application performance. Your code should not impact the other services. So then I need to test the entire application. It's not like only the online banking I'm going to test. I need to test the entire application so that I can make sure, right, my code is working fine and is not impacting any other areas. Right. So for that, right, so now we'll go for a server. So this is right dev servers, or we are going to call them as environment. We'll talk about. So then right. So my code will be deployed into here. Then I'm going to test it. Right. So now from the development to the testing, right here, the development team, I'm testing here, right? So this process we are going to call it as a continuous integration process. CI. From the development to the testing, right? What the testing? Your code, you are going to test it. You are the person, means the developer is going to test it. Right. So then that in between whatever the process is there, that is called continuous integration. Right. So now let's talk about the process, like what the process is involved in between from the development to the deployment into the servers. What is the process is involved. Right. So now let's talk about the CA process. So in our continuous integration, right? So whenever the code is ready, what the team will do, they will push the code into one centralized location, one common location. Right. So like here, suppose the credit card code is ready. Then what the team will do, they will push the code into the central location. Right. So my online bank code is ready. Then what I will do, I will push into the central location. So why to push into the central location, right? Into central area, because to avoid the dependency issues. Suppose, right? So Shankar is working on online banking. So I developed the code, but I went to the leave for 10 days. Now the code is present in my laptop. So now the other persons, right, want to test the entire application, but online banking, the latest code is not available because Shankar is on leave, right? Such kind of dependencies. Now to avoid the dependencies, right, what the best we can do, don't keep the code with you, place into some central location, like assume like your external hard disks, right? So that, right, so we can copy our images, videos into the external hard disk. Then this hard disk can be given to anyone so that they can copy the code, the data, I mean to say, right? So like a central location, perfect, so that, right, we can avoid the dependencies. But right, so now here, so everyone is pushing the code, right? So means credit card code is also pushing it there, debit card code also pushing there, online bank code also pushing there. So now there are challenges, right? So if every code is going to the central location, then how we are going to extract the code? How means the extra means, suppose I want the online banking or I want the credit card code. So right, so every code is there. Then you have to write some process, or you want to set up some process so that the process will take care whatever the code you want, it can take it. Again, right? Again, extra things you need to apply there if you are going to use some external hard disk or some servers like that. Right. And also one more important area here is, right? So right, as an example, so code is ready here. So the online banking code is ready. So then I want to test the code. Right. So here, let me take a simple example here, like login also will take a one module, login module. Okay. So then this login module is pushed here. Right. So now we want to test it. So what is the login module, right? The developer here. So like username, password, and a submit button. Like this, right? This page is developed. Tested the code, everything working fine. Then we deploy it into the servers. It is running fine. Right. So now, right, so the owner, the application owner, right, so asked us, so along with this submit button, right, so I want to have a cancel button also, either user can log in or cancel there. So now, right, so now what we will do, so here, right, in this central location, the code is there, our login code is there. So then what the team will do, from the central location, they will take the code and they will update the code by having or by adding the cancel button also. Like here now, your code is ready with the cancel button also. right? So we deployed it. Now the code is not working. It is failing. Yes, right? Our Flipkart or Amazon applications, right? People are, end users are not able to log in. See how much business they are going to lose for 5 minutes, just for 5 minutes, right? So now it's a big impact. So now your application is not allow the customers to enter into the application because the login is not working. Now what is our immediate job, right? You have to fix it. The job is you have to fix it because customers, right, not able to log in is a business impact. So now how we are going to fix it up? Are you going to modify the code and go and see what the issue? So how much time you required? 1 hour or 1 day or 1 week? 5 minutes is very huge for like as an example, right? If I take the Flipkart, if I take 1 hour, that's it, right? Nowhere they are going to allow. So 1 day means, so we can forget the thing. Even you cannot think about it, right? 1 day means such kind of applications. So right, so now fixing the code is not the right decision, right? So now your code is not working. Now you'll go for fixing the code is not the right decision. Then what I need to do there? Simply revert the changes. Our immediate job is, right, make sure application is working. So now whatever the changes you deployed, revert them. So that, right, so the previous version will be available. So that, right, in the backend, once the application is live, then in the backend you can work on the issue, the fix. Now, right, how can I revert the code now? Because already the login page, whatever the page is working, I updated the page, I modified the page. Now it's a 1 line change or 2 line change, you can revert easily. But if the change is 100 lines of changes in multiple files, then it is very difficult to revert the changes, right? So now that's where what is required for us, copies are required. So don't take one single file and try to update in the same file every time. Make it copies for every change, right? So like here, so this is my previous copy. So whenever, right, I got a new requirement, right, so then we'll create one more copy. Then here, right, we'll add our changes or we update our changes. Now this copy will deploy it. If something wrong, then simply I can take the previous copy. Now how much time it will require for me to take the previous copy? 40 seconds. Just take it and apply it, right? So now who will manage these copies here for every change? Who will manage? Right, the central location, like if I take a hard disk or servers like that, you have to make sure the copies are maintaining. That is our responsibility. Now it is again a challenging task, right? For every change, taking the backup, and when time requires, I need to take the particular backup. Now picking the particular backup is again a challenging task because, right, after 1 year, like a lot of changes will be there. So then I want to pick a particular thing, then it is a impossible task for us, like that, right? So that's where, right, so now the the process fine, but right, the management of the process is very difficult here, right? So if you go for your manual efforts, so there the tools came in the picture, right? Now the same thing, whatever, right, you are thinking here, like I want to make a copy so that if anything wrong, simply I can take the previous copy. That's what we are going to call it as a versions. Instead of copies, we are going to call them as a versions, right? So now here the central location is nothing but, right, your version control tools. Right now, right, they are available in the market, like different version control tools like Git, Bitbucket, Perforce, right? Likewise, right, SVN. There are different version control tools. So now what you will do, once your code is ready, you will push the code into the version control tool. Now what is the advantage of the version control tool? The name itself is saying versions. They will manage the versions. Even though your change is one character change, they will take a copy in the backend. You don't require to bother about, right, taking the copies of the things. It will take care. Now your job is to simply, right, work on the code and push the code. In the backend, the tool will take care of managing the versions for you. So at any point of time, right? So what are the code I want, right? I want to take the previous, like last 1 month code, simply can take it by using these versions, right? We are going to work on the tools. We'll see. So right, so now the first tool is our DevOps side is version control tools. What is the purpose of version control tool? To manage the code, to manage our development code. So then, so once the code is ready on the version control tool, so then it will go for your build process. In the continuous integration, right? What we will do? We'll do the build process, right? So now who will do the build process for us? There is a tool called integration tool. There is a tool called integration tool. We are going to call it as Jenkins. Now we are going to use one more tool, the integration tool, which is called Jenkins. What is the purpose of this tool? It will integrate, right? It will integrate with other tools and it will set up our continuous integration and deployment process of the code. One of the important tool in our build and deployments are the CI/CD, the Jenkins, right? So now what this Jenkins will do, right? In the Jenkins will take care of the build and deployment process for us. Now how it will take care of the build and deployment process? We are going to create the jobs inside the Jenkins. For our build and deployment, we are going to create the jobs. So as an example, right, we are working for this banking application. So I'm going to create a banking job. So that, right, the banking job will take care of build and deployment of the banking code. Right, what we will do inside the job? So inside the job, so as a first step, we will take the code, whatever the code is pushed into the version control tool, the code will be taken to here into your job. So like here, you will get your banking code, right? So from the version control tool, the code will be taken by the Jenkins. So how it is going to take? Again, it is automatically. We don't require to involve in that area. Automatically the code will be taken care by your Jenkins. How? So that kind of the setup we are going to do in between the Jenkins and the version control tool. So that, so the version control tool, what it will do, whenever it receives a new changes, right, whenever it receives the new changes, it will inform the Jenkins saying that, hey, I got some changes. So then the Jenkins immediately pick that code. So likewise, the integration we are going to set up. We are going to see practical everything. So whatever we are discussing, right, today and tomorrow, the tools and the demo, everything we are going to see with the practical, right? So likewise, right, we are going to set up this automation so that automatically the code will be taken by Jenkins. Once the code received by the Jenkins job, then you will go for the stages. We'll go for stages. Now, what kind of stages? So here we are going to run unit testing. Our first stage will be unit testing. What is meant by unit testing here? Maybe, right? So if the people completely new to this DevOps and everything, don't be confused. Try to understand. So we'll see everything in the practical. There you'll get a proper understanding what exactly the unit testing and everything. So just this is the class of, right, trying to understand our process and the tool stack and our, right, what the DevOps is going to do, right? So the unit testing is nothing but, right, the developers, right, what they will do, they will make sure, right, they will make sure whatever the code they have developed, that is working fine. So how they are going to make sure? With the help of the unit test cases. So they are going to write the test cases. Those test cases are called unit test cases. So that, right, so we can run the test cases simply, then we can evaluate, then we can finalize yes the code is working or not with the help of the test cases, right? So this test case nothing but, right, it is going to cover the entire code. What are the logic they have developed, the test case are going to cover the entire code. So that, right, each and every line is working as expected. That's what the test case are here. So now in our automation, right, in our automation, first we are going to make sure all the test cases are passed. What the test case here? Unit test case. These are the test cases not going to be tested by the QA team, the testing team. This is part of the development. The developers are going to prepare these test cases. So in the process, we are going to evaluate. This is not our actual testing, right? So now once the testing is done, if it is pass, then it will our process will go for the next stage. If it is failed, then our process is going to fail because your code is not completely covered. So we are not guaranteed that your code is going to work fine, right? So that's where the test cases are very, very important. So to evaluate the code, now the developers has to provide the code, the test cases, and we are going to evaluate them with the process. So then if the cases are passed, right, we are going to go for the next stage. If the cases are failed, then the process will be stopped and it will be informed to the team saying that your test cases are failed. Again, they have to fix the issue, and again the process will trigger from the scratch, right? So now who will do this? Who will run the test cases in the process? Your Jenkins? No, the Jenkins is not. Jenkins will take care of, right, triggering the steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, like that. But the steps are going to take care by different tools. Suppose, right, so this code is developed with Java language. The application developed with the Java language. Now the Java language, right, we have the build tools called Maven, right? So like the code is developed with .NET, and we have the build tool called MS Build. So likewise, for every language, we are going to have their build tools. So now what we will do for our build process, we are going to use the corresponding build tools. Like if I'm going to use Python, PyBuild is there, right? Likewise, there is a build tool will be available for each tool. If you are not sure, right, what is the build tool, simply you can Google it, right? So what is, right, suppose I'm not sure about the Python. So then what I will do, Python build tools. Here PyBuilder. PyBuilder is the Python build tool, right? So now we have to gain the knowledge what is the build tool, how we are going to use it. So that if I'm going to use the Java, then I will come to know, okay, there is a build tool available, I have to use it. If I'm going to work with .NET, that again, to build the .NET code, it must and should have one build tool. Take what is the tool and take it and use it. That area of knowledge is important for us, right? So suppose that, so now this code is developed with Java language, right? So now the Java uses, right, the build tool called Maven to build the code. Now this Maven, right, will take care of running the test cases also. We'll see how this Maven will take care of running the unit test case also, right? So now the Jenkins integrates with the Maven, and the Maven in the first stage, in the first step, it will take care of running the test cases. Likewise, we are going to set up this process, right? So that's where the Jenkins called integration tool, integrating with other tools for your setup. So right, suppose assume the test case are passed. So then we'll go for, right, the next step called code quality checking, right? So now make sure, right, so now here, like we discussed, right, whatever the code is developed, we have to make sure it is not impacting the performance of the application, and right, it should not have any security issues, vulnerability issues, right? So likewise, the other things has to make sure it's not like simply develop the code and leave like deploy the code, right? So that's where code quality comes in the picture. What quality is maintaining the code? So there, right, we are going to see the code coverage, we are going to see, right, the bugs, we are going to see the security issues like vulnerabilities, everything we are going to check, so that we are going to make sure, yes, the code is maintained the proper quality, right? So now again, who will take care of the code quality checking, right? So that is our tool called Sonar Cube, right? So now if you guys observe here, the Jenkins is going to have a job. Now inside the job, we are going to have different stages. One stage is code checkout, take the code from the version control tool, right? And the second stage, run the test cases, unit testing. The third stage, right, check the code quality, right? So now to check the code quality, right, who will help us? The Sonar Cube. We'll use the Sonar Cube to check the code quality. So there also, right, we are going to place some gates. The gates are called as quality gates, so that we are going to make sure there are no bugs, there are no code smells, there are no vulnerabilities like security issues are there in the code. The gate evaluates. If everything right, perfect, then we'll go for the next stage. Otherwise, we are going to stop there. Our process will be stopped there because lack of the code quality. Again, we'll inform the team. We'll send an email to the team saying that your code is not maintain the quality here. There are bugs are there, or here some vulnerability issues are there. Then again, the team has to fix those things, and again they have to come back. We'll go for the stage again. Assume the quality is also maintained, right? So now once the quality is maintained, right, so then we'll go for our build stage main thing called artifact creation, right? So what is artifact? Suppose, right, so I created this login page as an example. So like my login page is login.java, right? So then, right, so now here your artifact stage, it will take the login.java code as input, and it will generate the artifact like login.war file or jar file or er file. These are called as artifacts. War files, converted code, right? Converted code of your main code, the raw code. The .java file, right, means the Java code will be converted into war files, jar files, er files. Those will be called as artifacts, right? If my code is right .NET, then you are going to see .dlls, .exe files, right? So these are all called as artifacts. Now who will take care? Your build tool. We are going to call it as a build tools. Like here, right? Our Python PyBuilder, our .NET, right? MS Build, our Java, right? Maven. These are the build tools. They will take care of converting your raw code into the artifacts. The build tool job, right? So now here, who will take care again this artifact conversion? So our build tool for the Java is Maven. Again, the Maven comes into the picture, right? So Maven take care of the unit testing. The Maven can take care of artifact creation. The main purpose is artifact creation. The build tools purpose is artifact creation, right? So once the artifact is created, right? Once the artifact is created, now what you will do? The artifact we are going to store it, right? So the artifact we are going to store it. So like here, store the artifact. Why to store the artifact, right? Let's take the example again, our login page example, right? So here, so I develop this login page, like, right, so again, username, password, and submit button, like that, right? So then after that, right, we developed like as part of the client requirement, so we added the cancel button also, like that, right? So now assume the code is failed. Now what I need here, right, I need to revert the changes first to make sure, right, the code is working fine. Then later on we'll work on the issue, the fix. So now to make sure code is working fine means take the previous version, take this version, so that this is already tested version is working fine. Now this is the latest, it is failing, right? So now this is available in our Git. Git will take care, Git means your version control tool. It will take care of the copies. Now what I will do, I will take this code. Now can I run this code straightforward? No, we cannot run the code straightforward. Only the artifacts, right? Only the artifacts can be run, not like your raw code, .java file. You cannot. So now how you are going to get the artifact? You have to run this process. Now I need to take the previous version and pass as input my job. Now what my job will do? It will go with all the process, then finally I will get the artifact. Now this artifact, I can take it and I can run it. Now how much time required to take the code, the previous version, and convert into artifact? Suppose 15 minutes, very huge. Even, right, 10 minutes also very huge. But the process will take the time. So that's where, right? So now don't take the previous version and go for the build it again. Since already you create the artifact in the past. Once you develop the login page, by the time, right, you already create the artifact, then take it and use it. Why to build it again? But right here I am not stored it, right? So what are the version 1 we developed, right? So the version 1 artifact we are not stored it. So that's where it's not available. So that's where, right, artifact storage comes in the picture. So that, right, so once, right, suppose version 1 is developed, so then in our storage, right, artifact storage, we are going to store this version 1.war file. Right, suppose, right, version 2 came. So then we are going to, right, so build, right, run the test cases, code quality, then artifact creation, then you will store it as a version 2.war file, like that. So that, right, if something wrong, then I don't need to build the code again. Simply I can take the version 1 and I can deploy it. Seconds, matter of seconds. So that's why, right, artifact storage also very, very important for us. When you want to revert the changes, easily we can revert the changes if you store the artifacts, right? So now who will take care of this artifact storage? Like here, right, we have a tool called Nexus, right? So Nexus is the tool which it will take care of your artifact storages, right? So now this process is called continuous integration process, CI. This is called our CA process. Suppose, right, so the team push the credit card code, this code, right? Jenkins, right, you are going to have the job for the credit card. Like here, this is the job for my online banking. Likewise, you are going to have one more job for the credit card. In the job, again, all the same stages, right? So then it will take the code, run the test cases, check the code quality, create the artifact, and store the artifact. So likewise, in our Jenkins, we are going to create different jobs, and with the Jenkins, we are going to integrate different tools. Like here, right, Maven integrated, SonarQube integrated, Nexus integrated, so that your entire process can go smoothly. Otherwise, issues, right? So now, what is the tool stack, right, we are using for the CI? Like Git, Jenkins, Maven, Nexus. This is our tool stack for our CI process. So I will take a pause here until this process, until this CA. Are we good? Any confusions or any questions at this stage? Are you guys following me or not?
Yeah, this is clear, Shankar.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So I'm expecting other folks as well. Feel free, right? You can ask anything. Maybe right, maybe folks are completely new to this area. You can ask your queries, right? So this is the right time for you guys to understand the thing, so that, right, once we jump into the actual class, right, so then you can easily understand, so that, right, okay, Git purpose is so and so, right, or the Jenkins purpose is so and so. I'm using it for this reason, like that.
Shankar, one question here.
Yes, sir.
So basically, this unit testing that we are going to perform, right? It is again in the test environment, correct? From
No,
the
no, no,
dev
no,
to
no, no, no,
okay.
no, no. That's right. So that testing is completely different. That is our next area
Oh,
we are
okay,
talking.
okay.
We are going to
So
talk.
it's
Okay.
more of like only the dev environment that we are talking about here.
Even the dev also not talking about. This is only for
Ah,
the CA process. Okay.
oh, got it, got it. Okay.
Environments will comes into the deployment stage. The next stage we
Ah,
are going to discuss. This is
okay,
part of our CA process. It is going to be
got
run
it.
on our Jenkins only. You can
Mhm.
assume like on our Jenkins only. Okay.
Jenkins only.
Not any
Okay.
yeah. Not in any
Mhm.
separate servers.
Okay, clear. Sure.
Yeah. Fine then. So I hope, right. So we are good with this then, right. So let's go talk about the deployment process. Now this is CI, continuous integration.
It's
Now the
only
next,
continuous integration.
sorry, your voice
Whatever
is
we
not.
dis Today, whatever we discuss, it's only about continuous integration in the
Exa-
DevOps, right?
exactly. The setup, right, or what we discussed so far, it is talks about only the continuous integration of the DevOps. That's it, CI. Okay, we are not
And
discussing. Sorry, we are not discussing about the CD or the CM. Our next,
one more
right?
question, we will also have AWS session on this, right?
Yes, exactly. Our course is a DevOps with AWS actually. Okay, I forgot to talk about that part. Anyway, that is also comes into our demo. Maybe after this, right? CACD, I will talk about the AWS also. Yes, our course is right DevOps with AWS, guys. Okay.
Do we have any idea about that? Within this many days, we will finish DevOps and then next days and AWS or both together?
So means you are looking for
Only
particularly AWS
only
or
uh, for, for no particularly AWS.
okay, you are looking. Okay, fine. So let me tell you. Okay, so first, like it is actually 2.5 to 3 months course because right, I am going to cover a lot of topics on the DevOps side. We are going to see the tools around 10 to 12 in the DevOps side and more
Okay.
than 12 services in our AWS. It will take for me go with the practical of each and every tool minimum 2.5 months to 3 months. So first 2 months will be our DevOps tool. Then right, then last 15 days to 20 days we will work on our AWS in that way
Okay.
because right, so if you want to learn the AWS because right, so as part of my course, right, if you want to understand the AWS, so you need to know our CI/CD areas, like what the CI/CD are doing, what the tools are doing, right. So then once we jump into our clouds, then you can understand, okay, so this service I am using for so and so purpose. So if simply I'm going to say like I am going to use as an example EC2 service, then what is the point of EC2 service? Why to use? So right, so that's the reason, right? I'm covering the AWS at the end after our DevOps tools are covered. But here, our practicals, right? Whatever the practical we are going to do, it is completely on our AWS environment only. We are going to use our AWS services only. Means from the day one, we are going to work with the AWS, but we are not going to focus on our AWS services majorly. So initially, we'll see our EC2 service of AWS. Then we are going to cover all the DevOps tools. Then we'll see our the other AWS services. So like that.
So that if we learn in DevOps, it will be used in our AWS also.
Again, I did not get you. Come again.
So if you are learning anything in DevOps, that will be useful in DevOps, AWS, sorry.
Yes, exactly. So here now AWS again. So let me clarify here. So AWS, like the cloud, basically the cloud offering different services. Like right,
Yes,
I think you are aware of it. Platform as service, infrastructure as services, software as service. So now
yes,
these services can be used by any team. It's not only DevOps, right? Suppose I'm working on the data science, right? So now I require
yes.
the data science services. Yes, you can take from the AWS. So I'm working on machine learning, right? You can use AWS services for your machine learning like that. So what every team can leverage the AWS services, but there are different services are available. right? So now the data science tools are not required for the DevOps folks, and the DevOps folks tools are not required for the data science guys. Likewise, so we are going to use the particular service for us whatever we need. Suppose we are going to work on the infrastructure side, so you are going to build the code, you are going to deploy the code. Deploy the code in the sense the servers are required, and you need the load balancers, you need that auto scalings, you need the routings, you need the domains, you need the storage S3 buckets or databases, right? You need the permissions like I am like that, right? We require different services to manage our DevOps area. Our DevOps area is nothing but to manage your application basically. In the backend, right? You are going to manage the application. So for that, whatever the services are required, so those services we are going to use. Likewise, so it is for everyone. AWS means not only AWS. If the cloud is for everyone, but again for each team, their respective services like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, yes.
Sir, I'm a Java full stack developer. So which one is better for me, AWS or Azure?
So, Surya, right? So, AWS holds 65% of the market, Surya, right? So, if you go for any so if I take 10 projects, there you can see 6 projects in AWS cloud only. Okay, but Azure giving the tough competition nowadays to the AWS. Right.
Okay.
So the thing is, right? So here there are clouds are there like you have AWS cloud, Azure cloud, Google cloud, IBM Bluemix, Oracle cloud, like different clouds are there. So now the thing is, right? So suppose as an example to for better understanding, I need a mission, right? So when I want a mission on from the cloud side, so in our AWS, right, we are going to call it as instances, right? So in our Azure, we are going to call it as a VMs, virtual missions. Right. In our Google, you are going to call this missions. Likewise, the the naming convention is going to change, but at the back end, the mission properties, right? Property in the sense. So I want to have a mission. So in which region you want to create a mission? How many CPUs you want for your mission? How much RAM you require for your mission? What is the security group you need in the mission? Everything is same on every cloud. Means if you learn one cloud, working with other clouds will be damn easy for us. There is no big difference you are going to see. The
Okay.
naming conventions you are going to see, and some extra features like Azure will provide some extra features. Maybe in some services, the AWS is going to provide some extra features for some services. Those things you need to observe. That's it. But in the back end, the architecture, the process for every cloud remain the same. So means one cloud working with other clouds will be easy like that,
Okay, sir.
right? Yeah. So any other questions?
Uh, Shankar, actually, for code quality check you said, right? So only we are
Yes.
using
Yes.
SonarQube for all
Yes.
Python or
Yeah.
Java key language.
Yeah. So SonarQube supports more than 25 plus programming languages. The SonarQube. So you can check the
Okay,
code quality with the SonarQube for any language like Java, .NET, Python, any language. So whatever the tools we are talking here, right? They're all open source tools. So that right, cost is minimum. So if you go for it, but competition level, right, you have different tools are available, but they are chargeable. So right, so now when you are working for a project, the customers budget constraints. So that's why, right. So open source tools we are going to use setup, and we are going to leverage, or we are going to set up the process, and we are going to use it. So right, suppose the customer is not with the budget constraint. So then we can provide this framework, this solution by using the services like AWS providing development tools like code build, code commit, code deploy from the AWS service. Like Azure has Azure Devops is there. So right there you can easily set up the things. So you don't need to go for integration of Swanky with the Jenkins, man with the Jenkins like that. So there is a framework is available. Simply can take them and use them. But again, they are going to charge for it. So likewise, right? We
okay,
have the tools available. For the tools, there are competitions also there. But the thing is, right? The price. So that's where. So open source tools still leading the market because of they are open source. You can take it, and whatever the security things, whatever you want to apply, you can apply them, so that they are safer. Likewise,
okay, Shankar. Sure.
yeah, yeah. So right. So we'll spend again 5 to 10 minutes of time for to understand this CD. Then again we'll continue our class tomorrow. And right, if any questions, right, we'll spend some time on your queries also after the 10 minutes of time. Right. So now this is our continuous integration, right? So like once the code is ready and code push it to the gate, then what is going to happen after the push? Right. So now once your code is present in your artifact tool, right? So suppose this is my nexus where the artifacts are stored, like version 1 dot war file, version 2 dot war file, like that, right? So now this code I need to evaluate. So where we are going to evaluate here? On environments. We are going to call them as environments, right? So now in our real time, so you are going to see different environments. The one is called, the first level of environment is called dev environment, development environment, like we discussed, right? So once the code is ready or prepared by developers, they have to make sure their code is not impacting the other services, and the code is not impacting the performance of the application, like that. Now where they are going to test the code, they need a separate server. That's what our first point is. That's what here the server or the servers are called as a environments, and the first environment is called as a development environment. So now our artifact will be deployed into the dev environment. Now inside the dev, right, you can have number of servers like this, multiple servers, right? So the environment can have, right, bunch of servers. It can be 5 servers or 10 servers based on the application, right? So now on these servers, I need to deploy the code. Now can I take the code and copy it so it will work? No, it's not going to like that, right? So suppose, right, I have a Word document with me, and the Word document, right, I want to open on my machine. So can I open the Word document straight forward? No, right? You need to have the MS Office. You have to install MS Office. Once the MS Office is available, then only the Word document can be opened. In the same way, so whatever the artifacts are ready, if you want to run those artifacts on the machines, the machine should have the pre-setup, the prerequisites, right? So like here, we need a web server, right? So the web server, right, I'm going to taking like Tomcat. If I want to have the Tomcat, right, now what I need here with the Tomcat, Java is required, and also a user required to run the war files, as an example. So now I want to deploy the war file. So there I need a web server called Tomcat. If I want to set up the Tomcat, then I need a Java, then I require a user. So now what we need to do, we have to prepare the mission. Like what are the mission? You are going to run the code on the mission. You need to make sure Tomcat is there, Java is there, and also user also is there, right? Otherwise the code will not work. Now who will do this thing, right? Earlier ops team, operations team, that is their job to make sure the servers are ready. If it is a 1 server, 2 server, it is not always a big deal for us, right? Within 5 minutes, 10 minutes you can do that. If the servers count is huge, like 10 servers, 20 servers, then the challenges comes in the picture, right? All the 20 servers should be in sync. That's what you need to make sure, right? So how you are going to write? So earlier, right, the people used to write the scripts called, right, our shell scripts, right? So whatever the installations, whatever the creations you want to do with the help of shell or batch scripts, they are going to perform it. It right? It is perfectly fine, working for decades, right? The shell scripts, right? Still, we are in the shell scripts for the automations, right? So now again, right? Like we discussed, right? That the technology, right? Earlier, we don't have like the customers are not facing any competitions, less competition, so it's always fine. But nowadays, right? Technology growing up, now the competition, we are not getting enough time. So how this enough time? Someone Can you guys can you mute yourself? Yeah, perfect. Right. So now, right, so now the time is playing very, very important role here. So right, suppose I have created a shell script like tomcat.sh as an example. So here install the Java tomcat and create user like that. I have created the code. Right, so now 20 servers are there. So right, so now this script I'm going to apply on the 20 servers. Right, so now server 1, suppose assume it is taking 2 minutes of time. Right. So right, it connect to the server 1 and deploy the code. Then connect to server 2, then 2 minutes of time. Likewise, so taking 2 minutes of time to complete on the server, whatever the setup you want to do. Now at the end, right, how much time is required? 40 minutes. Now it is used. 40 minutes used. Suppose right, your setup required 5 minutes, then 20 into 5, 100, 1.5 hour. Again, very huge. Right. Likewise, now the time. Right. So there our configuration management tools comes into the picture. Right. So now with the help of this configuration management tool, whatever the shell, right, what are the scripts you have written for your automation, the same thing you can do that. What is the advantage? Parallel. Right. So now your shell, right, going in a sequential order. Now your config tools will go parallel. So that on all the 20 servers at a time, the script is going to be executed. Now, what is the maximum time for to run the script? 2 minutes. Means in 2 minutes of time, all your 20 servers will be ready. That's what your config management tools will do. So now see, you are saving a lot of time. Right. So there in our market, right? So the configuration side, we have the tools called Chef, Ansible, Puppet. So, right. So these tools came into the picture. Right. So now the Chef and Puppet, right, losing the market. Ansible right now leading in the market. Right. So why the Ansible is leading the market and why Chef and Puppet, right, lose the market? Again, there are, right, some differences are there. Right. So like here, so as an example, suppose if I take a Chef or Puppet, so this is, right, our mission, development mission. So where we are going to develop our automations, like our laptops or desktops. Right. So right, in our Chef, the automations are going to be called as cookbooks. Right. So now, right, I created a cookbook for my web server setup, web server.cookbook as an example. Now what I will do once my cookbook is ready, like your automation. So then you are going to push your cookbooks into your Chef server. This is called as Chef server. Chef is going to have a Chef server. Right. So like here, right, our git to Jenkins. So then here, right, you have the web server cookbook. Now what this server will do, it will attach to your remote missions, like suppose my dev servers, the 3 servers. Right. So now the Chef server will connect with these servers, all my dev servers, the 3 servers. So right. So now how now the server was need to do that, has to deploy the web server code into the 3 servers. Now how it's going to do? There is an agent, right, on the servers, on your dev environment servers. There is an agent called Chef client. So this Chef client agent, CC means Chef client. And in every mission, the agent Chef client will be installed. Now this Chef client, what it will do, right? It will use a time frame called 30 minutes minimum time. For every 30 minutes, right, the agent will connect to the server. Agent will connect to the server, and whatever the code is there on the server, it will take and deploy it. So likewise, in all the missions, agent will be there. The agent job is, right, whatever the time frame you have given, with the time frame, it will connect to the server, and whatever the new code or any changes are there, those changes or the new code will be deployed into the servers. Likewise, they will take care. Right. So what is the challenge with this? Another challenge, the drawback with this Chef or Puppet agent is required. Means on your remote machine, extra resource called Chef client agent, you have to install. Extra resource, you are going to use it. Right. So whereas our Ansible, right, the Ansible not required any agents. The Ansible not required any agents. Simply the Ansible, what it will do? So you will be having your development mission, right? So this is okay. Let me rub this. I think, right, I hope this stuff is clear for you guys. I'm rubbing it. So right, so now here you will be having the your dev mission, the development of your automations. So in our Ansible, right, we are going to call them as playbooks. They are cookbooks, here playbooks. Like say here web server playbook as an example. So you are going to have the same thing like there's the chef server. Here we are going to have the control mission. We are going to call as a control mission, Ansible control mission. So now what you will do, once your code is ready, you will push into the control mission like web server dot playbook. So now you will be having your all, suppose that there are dev servers, the 1, 2, 3. Now on the servers, you need to deploy this code. Now your control mission, right, connects to all the 3 missions. Then simply push this code into the 3 servers. Your control mission, right, push the code. So that, right, without any agent, you don't require to install any agent on the remote missions, your control mission will take care. So that's why, right, Ansible is agentless. You don't need to put any extra resource on the mission. On the mission means on your remote servers. It is agentless. And right, one more advantage with the Ansible, right, it can connect with the clouds also. Your AWS, your Azure, Google, it can connect with the clouds also, the Ansible. Right. So Red Hat, right? Red Hat is taken this Ansible, right? They are managing this Ansible. Complete support of the Red Hat is available for the Ansible. Like advantages with the Ansible. Right. So that's why Ansible right now leading the market to manage the servers from the configuration side to manage, you can see the Ansible tool. So now in our deployment side, right, in our CD process, in our continuous deployment, our first stage will be the dev environment where the development team will validate the code. Before the validation, right, we have to make sure the code, right, to run the code, whatever the setup is required, like Java, Tomcat, use, right, whatever setup is required, you have to make sure the setup is there. Now who will take care of this setup, right? That is called our configuration tools called like Ansible. Now we are going to use the Ansible here to set up our infrastructure, means our servers, to run the code. So then once the infrastructure, means your servers are ready with the pre-setup, then go for the deployment, right? Deployment means take your artifact and deploy it, right? So how you will do it, or who will do this, the deployment? Earlier again, we used to use the shell scripts for deployment of your code, right? So right, so either we can use the shell or the Ansible, your configuration tool itself can use for the deployment also. Again, you don't require to take for extra tools for the deployment. With the help of your configuration tools, we can deploy the code also. Means they will take care of the servers and they will take care of the deployment of the code also. Right. So now in our CD, right, in our CD, Ansible will be added for our servers readiness and deployment of our code. Right. So likewise, once on the dev environment, the code is deployed, right? Once the code is ready on the dev environment, now the developers, right, will validate the code and they will check entire application, right, with their changes, and they will make sure their code is working fine without any issues. Their code is working fine. So then what we will do in our process, once the dev team, right, given the sign off, and this code will go to the next environment, which is called the QA environment, quality assurance. Right? Again, right, you can have a number of servers. So then the code will be deployed into the QA. So right, so now the QA team, like our testing team here, the testing team involves, and they will validate the test suites. What are the test suites they have created? They are going to run on these servers. What are the servers you are going to have? Again, right, before they are going to run the test suite, we need to make sure the servers are ready with the setup, like whatever the setup is required. Now who will do the setup? Again, your Ansible, right? With the help of Ansible, right, you are going to make sure all the servers, what are servers you are going to manage, all the servers, right, you are going to set up whatever they need to run the code, right? So once we got the QA sign off, then the code will go to the next environment, right? So like user acceptance testing environment, right, which is called UAT environment, right? So now this is an environment will be taken care by the clients, the client side, right? Client side, we are going to have a separate team. So right, so once your QA is given the sign off, make like they are saying like your code is working fine, then we are going to hand over this code to the UAT environment. So like the client team, they are going to validate the changes on the UAT environment. If they are satisfied, that they will give the sign off. Once we got the sign off, finally, right, the code will go to the live. So that is called prod environment. We are going to call it a prod environment, right? So likewise, right? So whatever the artifact we got it with the CA process. Now the artifact we are going to take into the different environment for the validation. Like there are different teams are going to be involved, like the dev team, the QA team, client side team, like that. Different teams are going to involve to validate the code, and they are going to make sure the code is working fine. Then only, right, the code will go to the live, right? So now this process is called CD process, continuous deployment, right? So now here, right, so you can see on in all the environments you are going to the servers only. On the servers you need to make sure the pre-setup whatever is required. So with the help of Ansible or your config tools, we are going to make sure the servers are ready to run your code, right? So now this is what our CI and CD. So Git, Jenkins, Maven, SonarQube, Nexus. Then in the CD, right, you will see Ansible. This is our CI/CD tool stack for monolithic applications. Right? So we have the different types of applications again. One is, right, monolithic application. Then the second type is microservice applications. Right. So whenever you are working for a monolithic application, right, you will typically you will see this tool stack. For the microservice, right, your tool stack is going to be changed. The CA remains the same. The CD is going to be changed. Right. So likewise, in our DevOps, we have the different tool stack is available to manage your applications. Right. So though, right, we are going to cover, right, all the tools to manage your mono or micro. What are the tools are required? We are going to cover as part of our course. Right. If you guys observe here, right, the tools covered is the slide where you can see we have, right, almost these many tools are there which we are going to cover in the tools, right? Your monolithic tools are there or your microservice tools are there, like tomorrow, right, Docker and Kubernetes. Tomorrow, right, we'll discuss about our microservice CI and CD process. In our microservices application, right? So what are the tools we are going to use for the CI CD? So then, right, we'll discuss about our AWS services, right? So means our AWS cloud. So in our AWS cloud, what the cloud, how to use the cloud in our Devops, and what are the services we are going to cover. Right, guys? So that's all for today. Any questions, anything, any clarifications on our today topic?
Shankar, one question.
Yes, yes, Rama.
So basically, see, if you go back to that screen, the other pane that you were sharing, right?
Mhm.
So these environments that we are using this CD, so all
Okay.
these artifacts will be deployed into those respective environments, right?
Correct, correct. Yes, yes. So
Okay.
basically,
So
right?
with the help of Jenkins, because the
Yeah,
Jenkins is the place where it holds
exactly.
all
Yeah.
these artifacts, correct?
No, no, no. Jenkins is not going to hold the artifacts here, right? If you see, Nexus is going to hold the artifacts. Okay.
Oh yeah, right, right.
Jenkins is the one where you are going to create the job. Okay. In the job, you are going to have the different stages. The stages are nothing but your CA stages and your CD stages. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Mm-hmm.
a job with a bunch of or group of stages where you're going to define like one stage for the code checkout, second stage for the right code quality checking. Likewise, one of the
Mm-hmm.
stage will be your deployment stage. In the stage,
Deployments.
by yes, exactly, by using your Ansible, right, you are going to deploy the
Mm-hmm.
changes.
Got
Likewise.
it. Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, fine. So right. So now again, right. So as part of the course, right? So we are going to cover these tool stack from the DevOps side. You can see here, and these AWS services, right? We are going to cover because, right? So nowadays, our DevOps or whatever the area working, we are going to utilize the cloud services because the cloud services eliminating so much of right painful tasks whatever we faced in the past, like management things. So now our job is to right, focus on your areas. You don't need to focus on other areas. That's what cloud is doing right now. But they are chargeable, right? It's not free. They are going to charge whatever you are going to right consume from the AWS. But anyway, that is also a reasonable charge. They are not going to charge like that because of the competition, right? So now, right? So now our DevOps also right is going to use the cloud services. It's not like right people talks about suppose DevOps not required cloud. It's not like that. So nowadays DevOps required the cloud also. They are not separate. Again, people are talks about cloud, right? I want to go as a cloud engineer, like AWS engineer or Azure engineer. No, it's not like that. So right. So now, so there is no specific roles for a cloud engineers. Earlier, right? We have the separate roles like cloud engineers, DevOps engineer like that. So now there are no separate roles like that. You must and should have the DevOps and you must and should have the cloud also. Likewise. So that's what nowadays the companies are looking for. So means you want to go as a DevOps, you need to have the DevOps knowledge, the tools knowledge, as well as the cloud knowledge. Both are required, right? So we are going to cover both areas as part of the course, and then right. So we are going to cover right all the interview topics. Like suppose I'm started the Git, right? So in the Git, what kind of questions, right? In our interviews, we are going to face. Likewise, we are going to cover the topics with the interview questions also. So that right, we are going to familiar with the tools and as well as the tools knowledge and with the interview knowledge also. Like what kind of questions, right? What kind of answers we are going to give. And I'm going to provide a material for our tools. So that right. So here as an just let me show you one sample for you guys. Like right. So a PPT will be given to you guys for each tool. Like suppose this is a Git. So right with every instruction like from the command execution. Suppose right I want to execute that I'm executing this command. So what the result you are going to see if I execute this command. Likewise, I capture the screenshot so that your practice will become easier. Right. So likewise, so you will get a separate document for every tool with that detailed explanation in every document. And also right resume preparation, right? That is a common thing, right? So I will give the assistance for you guys. The resume preparation, how to prepare the resume. Then, right, we'll see how to write. What I can say, right? Go for the interviews, right? The interview topics. So I will write. I have a separate what is called a Git repository there where I place some interview questions also for you guys, so that you can take those questions and you can prepare them as well. And the other part, right? So like maybe, right, so we are going to have a group. So like our organization will create a group for us, so that, right, so you don't need to wait for the next day, right? So suppose you practice something and you are facing some issue, right? So you don't need to wait for the next day for the resolution. In the group itself, we can have a discussion, so that on fly, right, whatever you're facing, that can be resolved. You can continue the practice. So that's what we are planning to do. And also, right, so after the course, right, I will, right, maybe, right, so it's not like that after the course you are the one, I am the separate, not like that. So I'll be in touch with you guys, so that at any point of time, suppose you deploy in a project, you are facing some issues, right, you can always reach out to me, so that, right, I will push you guys wherever you struck from the technical point of view. So not with any other things. So from the technical point of view, right, if you are facing any issues or not able to understand the requirement, right, so I'll be always there for you guys to help you out to push the things. And for the practical side, right, so whatever the tools we are going to cover, right, so like our cloud services or our DevOps tools, so whatever we are going to cover for that, right, you don't require to have any separate configured servers, means the laptops. So just laptop is required with the internet connection, right? So what we will do, right, so we'll use our cloud, the AWS, and with the help of the cloud, we'll practice every tool on the cloud, so that, right, we don't need any separate configuration in our laptops. Even we don't require to install any separate softwares to practice our DevOps. Hardly, right? Very lightweight tools are required, one or two tools. That's it. Every every other thing you can take it from the cloud side, right? So then from the scratch, right, so from the scratch you will see every tool, right? So like we'll start with our Linux knowledge, because so whatever the servers, right, we are talking about here, like our dev servers, QA servers, or your Jenkins or Tomcat, whatever you're talking about here, right, so all you are going to see on our real time on the Linux machines, right? So majority of the servers you are going to see in the Linux, because Linux are better than your Windows as part of the security point of view. So that's why, right, in our real time you are going to see the Linux machines most, right? So now what we'll write, our starting class will be our Linux commands. We'll start with the Linux commands. So we'll see, right, our day to, like, not like we are going to cover the entire Linux because it's a version. So we'll see, right, the important commands which are required for our day-to-day life. Likewise, right, we'll start with the Linux, then we'll go with the Git from the scratch. Every tool you are going to see, so that you don't require to worry like I need to learn this thing before going for the DevOps, right? Like pre-knowledge, right? So do I require any pre-knowledge to learn the DevOps, right? So if you have something like Linux knowledge or the servers knowledge, that is fine. Otherwise, that is also fine, because I'm going to take care everything from the scratch, from the point zero, right? So from the installations we are going to see, right, so I'm going to show you how to set up, right, from the install, like suppose I want to work with the Jenkins. So you will take a machine, you will install the Jenkins, and you will make it ready the Jenkins, then you'll use it like that. Every tool you're going to see from the scratch, so that, right, so if you sometimes you need to work on the new projects, there you have to set up everything, means you have to create the servers, you have to install everything on the servers. So there this knowledge will help you, right? So likewise, from the scratch we are going to see everything from the installations, then configurations and utilizing of the tools, right? So then we'll go with all the tools from the scratch, right? We'll go with the detail. It's not like, again, right, so I'm not going to cover only theoretical fashion. We'll see a lot of topics in our each tool with the practically, right? So that's where our course for 2.5 months to 3 months, right, guys? So this is about what we are going to cover in our DevOps. And market wise, right, so market is very, very good for the DevOps. Even then recession, right, I think you guys are right, recession is going on, but still DevOps has a lot of openings, right? So you practice, right, what is your job is, right, practice everyday topic. That is what your job. The rest of the things I'm going to take care, like from the technical point of view, right? So whatever is required, I'm going to take care. So you have to take care of your practice. You practice thoroughly, right, you will get the job for sure. and the packages, right? Packages matters at the last, right? DevOps offering, right? Package is not a kind of gate for them. If you have the proper knowledge with the good experience of the DevOps, right, the companies are ready to offer anything like that, right? So there is no, right, there is no barrier for the packages. Only the thing is, right, knowledge is the thing. You need to gain the knowledge, practice the topics every day. So that is more than enough for you guys to work as a DevOps engineer. Our course, right, whatever course we are going to cover, that is going to be competitive with our real-time 3 to 5 years guys. That is for sure, I can say. If you learn these tools properly, if you understand the tools properly, what I am going to deliver here, you can easily compete 3 to 5 years real-time DevOps folks. So like, right, this course is for you. So that's all for today. So any questions, anything, right, before winding up the class? If no, right, so tomorrow we'll continue the demo. Then we'll see, right, our other areas, the other tools which are left here. Then, right, we'll start our actual classes from day after tomorrow.
Shankar, is it the same time or again
Yes.
7:30 IST?
Yes, Rama. So actually, right, so this is for the demo, right, we started 8, but yeah, it will be from 7:30. 7:30.
7:30 IST. Okay.
Yes, yeah, 7:30 IST,
Sure.
correct.
Sure.
Hi, Shankar. Morning.
Yes, yeah, morning, Sushma. Yeah.
Thank you. It was a good session. I'm working as a associate in a support project.
Okay.
Will this be a good domain for me to convert?
Yes. That's what, Sushma. Here, right, it is it is not for a specific team. They can go as a DevOps. Like I am a Linux administrator guy, so that I am fit for the DevOps. It's not like that. So if I am a Linux guy, I have an advantage where when I work with the servers, right, I have an advantage to work with the servers. But when it comes to my microservices, there I need to work with the Docker Kubernetes. That's completely new to for me, and cloud new to for me. Likewise, it is not related to any particular domain or something. Anyone can take the DevOps. So maybe the persons who is coming from the particular, like suppose I'm a QA guy, so in the testing side, in the testing area, I'm good with that because I know the thing, but the other area is completely new to me. For you, everything is new to, that's it, right? So now maybe they need suppose they need to practice for 1 hour per day. For you guys, you need 2 hours per day, like that. So once you gain some understanding, then you will be the same like others. Like, so that's why, right, it is not for any particular domain or particular technology guys. So the DevOps is anyone can take it, even, right, my students are completely non-IT guys. Like in my previous batch, right, the students are right now they are working as a DevOps folks. They are completely non, like, so someone came from the teaching background. Like maybe after, right, for you guys to boost up the things, I will pick one or two of my students from my previous batches. Let I will introduce them to you, like, so that they will give you, like, so how they prepared, right, how they selected for the dev, then so right now how they are working with the dev, something like that. So maybe kind of boost up things. So that's why, like that. So even, right, non-IT folks also working as a DevOps folks. So the only thing, right, a proper practice and proper understanding of our DevOps. That's it. Yeah. Sushma, I hope it is clear for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Shankar.
No problem. Yeah. So fine then. So I hope we are good for today. So let's wind up for today. And, right, for tomorrow, right, demo, right, we'll take the demo 8 o'clock only. The actual classes, right, will take from the 7:30, right? They will start from 7:30 IST, 7:30 a.m. IST. So same time,
Sure.
8 o'clock, right? We'll meet tomorrow, and we'll try to, right, wrap up our demo part. Thank you then. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you, Shankar. This is really
Thank
helpful.
you, Shankar. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Shankar. Thank you.
Thank you, Shankar.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Bye bye.
Thank you. Take care.